Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? It is day 26 of RPG A Day 2018, and our question or prompt for today is your gaming ambition for the next year. Last two Decembers, I've made videos with my RPG resolutions, and it's funny. I made one at the end of 2016 in December, for what I wanted to do in 2017. At the end of 2017, I went back and watched that video and realized that I had accomplished every single thing I set out to do for that year. So I made another one. And I could tell you that I'm not going to accomplish all the stuff I set out for myself in 2018. It was a pretty ambitious and big list, very optimistic. But I noticed this question did not say anything about calendar year. So I'm going to take it from RPG a day to RPG a day, from August to August, and think about what do I want to accomplish? What are my ambitions? And I could talk about this game and that game and the other game, and yeah, sure, things like Broken Realms and Circle of Hands are games I really would like to play. So yeah, I can have an ambition to play those in the next year from now. And the only other thing that really stands out is something that I'd like to get. I'd like to develop system mastery over the Fantasy Flight games narrative dice system, the Genesis or Star Wars, take your pick, because I really like that system, but I'm just not that good at it. So I'd like to really to learn it and kind of internalize the way I've been able to internalize like Ubiquity. But I wanted to take this question from a different angle and not just talk about what games I want to do or play. So looking at things that are a little bit more, they're harder to measure. The first thing is I'd like to improve my game master skills. I've noticed that I have some areas of deficit that I would like to improve upon. Things that I see as shortcomings, that like I could be better at this. I feel like it's part of my pacing and maybe preparation and what have you just aren't quite what I would like them to be. And I'm not sure if it's just because I'm rusty or because I've been exposed to so many other game masters and so many other good game masters that I see in their styles and what they do things that I aspire to. And so in the next year, and probably beyond that, I would like to improve those skills because I see some areas where I have opportunities for improvement. Second thing is I'd really like to improve my study habits in terms of how I read and learn new games. And I've mentioned in the past that concentration has always been a problem for me, and also some years ago, I started to have difficulty reading as well, or concentrating while reading, and so often learning games can be a bit frustrating for me. But I suspect, I believe that part of this is just due to my study habits and the way I approach it, little bit of discipline. So that's something I'd like to kind of look into improving, like how I tackle doing that, because it doesn't have to be frustrating, and sometimes I can just have concentration issues or whatnot. And I know there's ways around that. So I'd like to. That's a goal of mine, is to get better at that. I'd also like to continue to explore different RPG experiences, not just to explore like every single one that's out there, but I've noticed that the RPGs that feel the most like home to me, which interest me, they can often be very contradictory. The experiences that these RPGs produce can be very different from one another. And there's times I like a very pulp heroic feel. There's times I like a much more, I don't want to say realistic, but feel where the consequences are a lot more realistic or poignant, and where there's a lot more bleed in, where I'm feeling a lot more of the emotions of the characters. And I suspect in some ways I'm exploring different facets of myself by gravitating towards these different experiences. And I've noticed that I get out a lot more on this hobby than I thought I was in the beginning, and I want more of that. So I want to continue to explore those different genres, experiences, feels, whatever you want to call it. And sounds a little esoteric, but that's something, that's an ambition of mine, is to really kind of continue to explore all that and see where it leads me. So those three things I gave you, they're really hard to quantify, aren't they? It's hard to say, well, I've done this or I haven't done it. So I'm going to throw in one there that's a little bit easier to qualify or quantify. And that is something I've mentioned in the past, is I really would like to develop a small group of people locally that I can game face-to-face with that share the same interests that I do, or is compatible with me as the great people I found to play with online, or at least within reason. These people that would be open-minded enough to try some different games other than the mainstream, would be open to some different experiences. And it doesn't have to be a lot of them. In fact, I really don't want it to be a lot of them. But that's something, that's another ambition of mine for the coming year, is to see if I can somehow assemble, become part of a group like that. So those are my my 4 big ambitions for this year. How about that? What about you? See you tomorrow, kids.